For years, people have tried to explain Bigfoot as an undiscovered animal, a relic hominid, a flesh and blood creature hiding deep in the wilderness. But there's another side to this mystery, the side most people avoid: strange lights in the woods, Bigfoot appearing and disappearing, witness describing fear, paralysis, and experiencing experiences that feel more paranormal than physical. What if the reason Bigfoot has never fully made sense is because we're looking only at half the story? Tonight we're talking about the paranormal side of Bigfoot nobody talks about. Welcome to the Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast. Tonight we're diving into one of the most controversial topics in all of Bigfoot research. Not footprints, not DNA, not trail cam photos. We're talking about the side of the phenomenon that makes every experienced researcher uncomfortable. The paranormal side. Because for all the stories about creatures in the woods, there are just as many reports that include things that do not fit neatly into normal biological explanations. This is where Bigfoot starts crossing into high strangeness. And whether people like it or not, that side of the phenomenon has been reported far too many times to just ignore. So tonight we're breaking this down with 7 major talking points. By the end of this episode, you may look at Bigfoot very differently. Number 1, Bigfoot encounters often come with high strangeness. Number 2, the strange silence and atmosphere change before the encounters. Number 3, Bigfoot and strange lights in the woods. Number 4, appearing and disappearing. Why does the Bigfoot seem to vanish? Number 5, the psychic side, mind speak, paralysis, and overwhelming fear. Number 6, Bigfoot hotspots often overlap with other paranormal activity. Number 7, why so many researchers avoid this side of the Bigfoot. All right, so let's get into this. Let's talk about talking point number 1 here. So, encounters often come with high strangeness. This is where a conversation has to begin. A lot of people want Bigfoot to stay in one lane. They want it to be simple. A large, undiscovered primate. A hidden species. A flesh and blood animal. But the problem is, witnesses often report... Let me try that again. A large, undiscovered primate. A hidden species, a flesh and blood animal. But the problem is, witnesses often don't. Witness reports often don't stay simple. Again and again, people describe encounters that include things like strange lights, an unnatural silence in the woods, electronic equipment acting oddly, a feeling of intense dread, the creature appearing where it logically shouldn't be, the creature vanishing faster than it should be able to. That matters. Why this is important? If Bigfoot were only biological, then the reports should mostly sound like wildlife encounters. You see it, it runs, it leaves tracks, end of story. But that's not all we get. Instead, many witnesses describe a change in atmosphere before and during the encounter. They talk about the woods feeling wrong. Not just quiet, not just eerie, but just wrong. This is one of the biggest clues in the entire subject. Questions to explore in this episode. Why do so many encounters include elements that sound paranormal? Are people misinterpreting stress and fear? Or is Bigfoot genuinely tied to broader phenomenon? So, let's talk about that. Now, I've had a lot of encounters with Bigfoots. I've had so many encounters, I can't even, daytime, nighttime, afternoon, evening, early morning, whatever. All daytime, all different times during the day and night, right? it does get silent sometimes when Bigfoot appears. And I've not experienced a lot of these, but we're going to talk about them anyways because a lot of people do report these. A lot of witnesses I've talked to have reported these things, these exact phenomenons. Um, it's just basically how do they appear and disappear? Why is there strange lights and then Bigfoots are seen, or lights are seen, then Bigfoot's seen, or why are Bigfoots and orbs always seen together? Why does electronic equipment act strangely when they're around? A feeling of dread or a feeling of intense dread, why does that happen? The creature appears where it's not logically supposed to be, and how does it disappear so fast? Like I said, I've had a lot of reports of this happening. People seeing them go into portals, strange lights appearing right before and after the encounters, stuff like that. Are they interdimensional? Are they traveling through, wormholes or portals, or what's happening? I've never actually seen any orbs around where Bigfoots have actually shown up. I've also never seen them disappear. Uh, I've seen orbs in the tree line before, but most of it can be explained. So I don't know what people are experiencing with this. I can't actually tell you, but I've had a lot of friends tell me, they've seen like portals open and then they've seen a Bigfoot and then the Bigfoot disappears. I've heard a lot of people tell me that there were strange balls of light floating in the forest, and then they had a Bigfoot encounter, and then they saw more strange lights or something like that. Um, and I've heard a lot of these reports, so there's got to be something to them. And we'll kind of get into this more down below when we kind of get into the paranormal side of it. So, talking point number 2 is a strange silence and atmosphere change before the encounters. Basically, this deserves its own section because it shows up so often. And one of the eeriest things people report before a Bigfoot encounter is not just seeing the creature itself, it's what happens right before. And people describe birds suddenly going silent. And we talked about this on the last podcast. Insects stopping, an overwhelming silence, a heavy feeling in the air, a sense of the woods are holding its breath. So that's fascinating because it points to a field effect around the encounter, and almost like the environment itself changes. So why this matters? Predators can make prey go quiet. That's very true. But the wilderness describes something deeper than that. Not just an animal silence, but a physiological and emotional shift too, which is very interesting. People often say, I suddenly felt like I shouldn't be there. The woods felt dead. It felt like something was pressing on me, like a weight on their bodies. Um, that's different from simply noticing quiet in the woods. This is where the Bigfoot phenomenon begins sounding less like zoology and more like the opening moments of a haunting, a UFO encounter, or other high strangeness event. Could this be an environmental effect? Could whatever people are encountering somehow influence animal behavior, human perception, or the emotional state of awareness? Or is that overwhelming fear simply the mind reacting to a hidden apex predator? Both possibilities are interesting. Sometimes the most paranormal part of a Bigfoot encounter starts before anyone actually ever sees anything. And this is very true. Now, this is something I have encountered. You're out there, and all of a sudden, you do feel like you're being watched. And we talked about this in the last podcast, but we'll go deeper into this time. Forest does go quiet. And you're like, okay, it's really quiet out here. And I don't know if it's just a mental thing or if it's the hair on the neck goes up because you're like, oh, wait, there's something your body's mentally picking up on, possibly some kind of predator, right? And a Bigfoot, I mean, if it was hunting humans, it would definitely be a predator. your ears kind of your senses kind of start to essentially expand. Your sense of smell gets a little bit better. Your sense of hearing gets a little bit better. Now your vision at night, unless you've been out in the woods for quite a while in the complete darkness, um, your sense of vision probably isn't the greatest. But if you have a camera with infrared, then you're probably looking around, going, "Okay, you're starting to see things. You're trying to figure out what's going on." Uh, then your whole body goes on high alert, right? All of a sudden you're like, wait, something's not right here. Something's not normal. I need to be a little bit more focused and paying attention to what's going around me, because something could happen. Something bad could happen, right? So you're in a heightened sense of state, and you're like, okay, what the hell? What's going on? And this happens most of the time before Bigfoot encounters. Sometimes, if it's during the day or night, you just happen to walk around the corner and there's a Bigfoot standing there, or it's standing there watching you, and you're like, oh, okay, there was a Bigfoot encounter. There's a Bigfoot standing there, and you're like, oh, cool, that was really cool. But sometimes it's just creepy as hell, and sometimes you don't even see the Bigfoot, but everything goes quiet. I mean, this happened to me at the cemetery at Joe's camp. And I felt like I was being watched. I actually went and stood behind my truck, putting my truck between the forest behind me and whatever was coming at me. So at least I had a chance to react and maybe get in the truck. Talk about creepy. That was one of the nights where I didn't feel very comfortable being alone. And that didn't happen very often at Joe's camp. I felt comfortable walking through the woods at night by myself up there. No weapons, no nothing. But that night, excuse my allergies are going crazy today. That night, that was definitely creepy. The hair on the back of my neck definitely stood up. Something mentally was telling me, you shouldn't be here. And this is exactly this talking point. I mean, I really felt like I should not be there. I felt like I needed to get out of there. And eventually, after about 2 or 3 minutes, Christy, who was down the way, also had her own experience where she got freaked out, and I used that excuse to get out of there. I need to go check on her, right? So, yeah, I mean, it definitely was something I've experienced. But, yeah, I definitely agree with this one. This one definitely, even though I never saw anything, I felt like I was being watched. I felt like I shouldn't be there. It definitely felt like there was a presence around me that I couldn't see. The birds definitely went quiet. Of course, it's the middle of the night. Insects definitely did stop. There was definitely an overwhelming silence, and the air definitely felt heavy for sure. So yeah, that's one I can definitely say I've experienced a few times. So let's talk about Bigfoot. Talking point number 3, Bigfoot and strange lights in the woods. This is one of the most controversial overlaps in the entire topic. It's a surprising number of witnesses report seeing orbs, flashes, glowing lights, or unusual illumination in areas associated with Bigfoot activity. Now, for some researchers, this is where they check out. They want nothing to do with the lights, the UFO, or anything that sounds too paranormal. But the reports are there. And the question becomes, why do these things keep showing up together? So I'm not saying every light in the woods equals Bigfoot. I'm also I'm saying that there's enough reports of glowing lights before sightings, strange illumination in the active areas, Bigfoot seen near unexplained lights, and unusual aerial or hovering objects in remote areas. And that definitely deserves more discussion. So why is it intriguing? Even if a fraction of these reports are genuine, then Bigfoot's may be part of a bigger phenomenon, something that overlaps with maybe UFO reports, portal theories, interdimensional theories, energy-based manifestations, place-based paranormal hotspots. So most people expect Bigfoots to leave footprints. They don't expect a witness to say there were lights in the trees first. That's where the subject becomes unforgettable. Are the lights a separate phenomenon occurring in the same place? Are witnesses combining multiple strange events into one story? Or is there actually a connection between Bigfoot and other explained phenomenon? In many paranormal cases, people report layers of strangeness, not just one thing. Maybe Bigfoot should be treated in the same way. So let's take a deeper dive into this. So Bigfoot and UFOs are seen in a lot of the same areas. There are a lot of reports of UFOs spotted in the same areas as Bigfoot. Now, orbs could just be energy. Flashes also could be, dry lightning. They could be energy given off by the earth. The glowing lights, again, just the same thing as orbs. Unusual illumination, basically could also be possibly the idea that Bigfoots do come from another dimension and maybe they cross into our area. I don't know if I believe personally in this, but it definitely is worth looking into, and I definitely want to keep an open mind about this, because at this point, nobody really has any 100% proof of anything with Bigfoot. Nobody can say, well, nobody has an actual real video of a Bigfoot body, right? And collecting hair samples and all that stuff. We don't have a physical body. Mainly because I think Big Brother wouldn't allow it. But let's just say that Bigfoots are interdimensional, or one of my theories is that Bigfoots also are being abducted by aliens and maybe studied by aliens for some reason, right? If they're abducting us, why wouldn't they abduct other animals, right? Just to see what it is. I mean, they're possibly taking cows. Why wouldn't you take a Bigfoot? But I do believe that Bigfoots are being possibly abducted by aliens. Could they be interdimensional beings? Yes, they could be. Could they be some kind of unknown energy? Yes, they could be. Maybe they're aliens that are basically beaming down and into like a ball of light, and then appearing as a Bigfoot. Maybe that's their normal form. And then basically they're moving around and essentially walking through the forest. Maybe they're collecting samples. Maybe they're just down there to get some food. Who knows what they're doing, right? Maybe they're doing their own research. Who knows what they're doing? And again, these are all just theories. Not one that I really follow that much, but I mean, there's a lot of people out there that do research these. And in the future, we will get into this with other researchers as well. We'll have other researchers on and maybe talk about this with you guys and tell their point of view. Anyways, but yeah, I do think that a lot of Bigfoot activity and alien activity, if I looked at my maps, you'll find that a lot of them are in UFO hotspots. UFO hotspots and Bigfoot's hotspots seem to be very similar areas. Also, hauntings, ghosts. And if you've ever seen in my Bigfoot activity, where I go looking for Bigfoot, either at Joe's camp or also at Black Star Canyon, I did a lot of ghost hunting in those areas too. Joe's camp had ghosts. He had his uncle that would come in and mess with their cameras and stuff. It was pretty damn funny. Cameras would turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off. K2s would go crazy. He loved to talk to us. He loved it when we were out there Bigfoot researching. Anyways, so, all right. Appearances and disappearances. Why does Bigfoot seem to just vanish? This is one of the most difficult parts of the mystery. So many witnesses describe a creature that should have been easy to track but wasn't. They say things like, it was there 1 second and gone the next. There's no way it could have moved that fast. It should have made more noise leaving. I looked away for a second, it was gone. Now, there are normal expectations for some of what that could be. Dense cover, shocking affected perception, shock effects. Now, there are normal expectations for what some of that could be. Dense cover, shock effect, affecting perception, loss of focus in high stress moments, A creature knowing the terrain better than the wilderness. Let me try to get it. Now, there are normal expectations of what some of that could be. Number one, dense cover. Number two, shock affecting perception. Number three, loss of focus in high stress moments. Number four, a creature knowing the terrain better than the witness. But not every report feels that simple. This vanishing quality is part of what pushes some people away from the pure flesh and blood expectations. If Bigfoot was just an animal, why does it often seem to behave like an apparition in witness descriptions? There are several possible explanations. Number one, extreme stealth. It knows exactly how to disappear into terrain. Number two, witness distortion. Fear alters time and memory. Number three, the paranormal component. It is not fully operating like normal wildlife. That third possibility is one that most people don't want to touch. But if you're going to do an episode called The Paranormal Side of Bigfoot Nobody Talks About, this is one of the central ideas. Bigfoot is often described like a physical being until the moment it isn't. The contradiction is one of the most interesting things in the phenomenon. So let's go back to that real quick. So the extreme stealth, how it knows exactly how to disappear in the terrain. Witness distortion, fear alters time and memory. And paranormal component, it's not fully operating like normal wildlife. I think those three things are actually very, very important. I think that they say a lot about basically what people experience. I do think that these things know the terrain better than basically us. I think it knows how to disappear. Most people don't realize that these things go down on all fours. They look like a damn deer. They also can go down on their belly. They do belly crawls. They'll do the whole belly crawl like a soldier would. They'll get down on their stomach and they'll basically use their elbows and they'll pull themselves along. And they know how to disappear in that terrain. I mean, if a Bigfoot was standing in a tree line and it was standing in the shadows and wasn't moving, you'd walk right past it, not even know it's there unless it moved. Witness distortion. I do believe that fear can mess with somebody's mental state, and I do think that they can distort what happened mentally. I think also excitement and, oh my gosh, what did I just see and what all happened? I think your brain's trying to process all that. And sometimes if you're not a trained observer or you caught a quick glimpse of something or something happens, most Bigfoot reports only last like 30 seconds to a minute. Most of them happen very, very quickly. Somebody walks around a corner, there's a Bigfoot there, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And I've had those that happen too. I mean, you come walking across when the Bigfoot's like, oh, sorry, I'm out. Maybe actually caught it by surprise. Maybe it didn't actually sense you or pick you up or whatever. And now it's like, oh, all right, time to go. The paranormal component, it's not operating like a normal wildlife. I don't think Bigfoots really operate like normal wildlife. I don't think that they're going to do what wildlife does, which is basically turn and run. I think they're smarter than that. I think the first thing they try and do is to blend in and just act like they're not there. And they think that basically if you don't know, they don't move and they don't act like they're something, then maybe you'll not even see them, or you won't think that they're actually something there. Again, like a tree. They can stand there and look just like a tree. You wouldn't even know they're there. They're not going to turn and run away, usually. They'll basically stand their ground, and if you come close to them, or you just stand your ground too, or you turn and move away, most of the time they're going to just continue to stand there, or they're going to turn and walk away themselves. Sometimes they do follow people a little bit, just to chase you out of there. Maybe they're in the middle of a hunt. Maybe they're doing something important. Maybe something's going on. Maybe you walked into their living room, right? So they're going to follow you and make sure you don't come back. And I think that, again, could they possibly be something paranormal? I mean, could they possibly be an interdimensional being? Could they possibly walk through a portal? Could they possibly just walk in behind a tree and disappear? I would say maybe, but probably not. I mean, I've followed Bigfoots for miles and not ever had them disappear. I mean, I've been able to find tracks and stuff like that, but you have to know what you're looking for. I mean, professional trackers can follow these things for miles and miles and miles and take you right to them probably. But I mean, if you get that close to them, they're going to turn and probably be aggressive towards you. And or they might go up a tree. They're like a bear. They'll climb a tree if they need to. They'll do anything they have to get away from you. But anyways, that's not basically the side of the story. So yeah, I mean, anything's possible, guys. So the psychic, number 5, the psychic side, mind speak, paralysis, and overwhelming fear. Now, the entering territory that many people avoid completely, and I'm guilty of being one of these people. There are witnesses who claim that during the encounters they've experienced sudden paralysis, intense mental pressure, thoughts they did not feel on their own, a sense of being warned away, overwhelming panic, and the feeling overwhelming panic that felt externally triggered, mind speak, or silent communication. This is the kind of material that makes traditional researchers uncomfortable, but again, the reports exist. They don't present it as proven fact. They present it as a reoccurring pattern in the strange edge of the phenomenon. Why it's compelling? Because it raises possibility that some encounters involve more visual observation. Could the witnesses be reacting to infrasound, electronic magnetic effects, trauma response, suggestion, and folklore? Maybe. But if that was all this was, why do some accounts sound so specifically interactive? Witnesses sometimes say they felt, get out, don't come closer, I knew I was afraid, I felt frozen before I even saw anything. The deepest interest This is deeply interesting because it overlaps with reports from UFO encounters, hauntings, demonic oppression cases, other high strangeness experiences. So the big question is Bigfoot capable of affecting perception or emotion in a way we don't understand? Or are people trying to explain extreme fear with supernatural language? Either way, it belongs in the conversation. Talking point number 6. Bigfoot hotspots often overlap with other paranormal activity. So this is where the case gets even stronger. One weird encounter is one thing, but some locations keep producing multiple kinds of reports, including Bigfoot sightings, UFO activity, strange lights, missing time, haunt-like atmosphere, voices in the woods, shadow figures, unusual animal reactions. That changes the discussion completely. Because now we're talking about not just one creature. We're talking about places that seem to generate multiple kinds of unexplained experiences. So why does this matter? Location itself may be part of the mystery. Some places even seem to have reported Bigfoot activity, repeated paranormal activity, repeated witness reactions, repeated environmental oddness. That suggests a hotspot model rather than an isolated creature model. So what if some forests, mountain areas, or wilderness zones are not just habitats, but windows? Here's where the theory gets wild. Portal areas, thin places, geomagnetic anomalies, locations where multiple phenomena overlap. You do not have to endorse these theories to say this. There are places where Bigfoot reports do not arrive alone, and that should matter to serious investigators. The question may not just be, what is Bigfoot? The question may also be, what is happening in these places? That opens the subject way up. So let's do quickly a look back at these, because let's look at Black Star Canyon, for example. Black Star Canyon is a fault zone area, right? The Sand Mountains are faults. There's a fault zone up there. There's also running water. There is Bigfoot reports, UFO reports, cryptid reports, dogman reports, UFO sightings, ghosts, hauntings, shadow people. It's a paranormal hotspot. And I mean, like I said, I used to go ghost hunting up there, and then once I realized Bigfoot was real, I started researching Bigfoot too. I never saw any UFOs, so to speak, but I definitely met a lot of people that had Bigfoot had UFO reports up there, and they report seeing strange lights. They reported seeing flashes of lights. We did actually see some strange flashes of lights up at Black Star Canyon, now that I think about it. There was definitely flashes of lights up there. A lot of strange things happened at Black Star Canyon. I mean, it was a place that anything could happen. I mean, Bigfoot's crossing the roads back and forth, stepping over barbed wire fences and stuff like that. So definitely, again, I think that if I go through and I drop thousands of pins all across the United States looking for hauntings, UFO reports, alien abductions, Bigfoot reports, dogman reports. And when you go back and look at the clusters with all those things, they are pretty much in the same area. And it just makes you wonder if there's something strange happening in those areas. Are there portals? Is that what's bringing everything in? Is there just more to this? Could Bigfoots be coming through portals? And I don't think so. But it seems very strange that you have hauntings and Bigfoots, dogman, UFO sightings, and all the kinds of paranormal activity all happening in the same spots. So that's very interesting to me. I mean, we can take a deeper dive into that later in another episode. If you guys want to comment down below and tell me what your thoughts on that are, I would love to hear them. And again, these are all just theories, but I definitely have, hundreds of reports from different areas that all cluster into the same area that have UFOs, Bigfoot, dogman, like I said, all those things, hauntings, all that stuff is all in the same general area. So that's very interesting. They all seem to be on fault zones also. Hint, hint. All right. It's number 7. Why so many researchers avoid this side of the Bigfoot conversation? So this basically brings everything together. Why does this not get talked about more? Because it's risky. The more you bring up orbs, mind speak, disappearing creatures, paranormal overlap, interdimensional theories, you kind of lose your credibility with people who just want Bigfoot to kind of stay a biological creature. And that fear is understandable. Researchers worry that if they include the weirdness parts of witness reports that researchers worry that if they include the weirdest parts of the witness report, the entire subject gets dismissed. But there's a problem with that approach. If investigators only keep parts of the reports that sound respectable, then they may be throwing away the very details that matter most. And that's huge. Because it doesn't mean the public often gets filtered versions of the phenomenon. You get the tracks, you get the size, the hair, the movement, but you're also losing the atmosphere change, psychic impressions, the lights, the impossible seeming disappearances, the deeper strangeness witnesses often report. So the real danger is trying to make Bigfoot respectable, maybe preventing people from understanding it. And that's a powerful ending. Maybe the paranormal side of Bigfoot doesn't get discussed because it complicates the narrative. But mystery does not become less real just because it becomes harder to explain. So what do we do with all of this? Do we throw out the biological theory completely? No. Do we ever say Bigfoot encounters is supernatural? No. But we can say this. There's a side of Bigfoot phenomenon that refuses to say simply in a simple category. A side filled with strange lights, impossible silence, atmospheres change, vanishing creatures, physical impressions, overlapping paranormal phenomenon. And that side deserves to be discussed, not ignored. Because if witnesses are telling the truth, even partially, then Bigfoot may be more than an undisclosed animal. Because if witnesses are telling the truth, even partially, then Bigfoot may be more than an undiscovered animal. It may be part of a much larger mystery. And maybe the reason nobody has solved it yet is because too many people have been trying to force into the wrong box. So guys, if you've ever had a Bigfoot encounter that included something strange, lights, silence, fear, missing time, or anything that felt paranormal, I want to hear about it. Follow Deep Woods Paranormal and stay with us as we continue digging into the cases, the patterns, and the things that most people don't want to talk about. Because sometimes the strangest part of the mystery is the part that people leave out. All right, guys, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and we will catch you guys on the next one.